Ambassador Zeth Prime of the Galactic Trade Consortium adjusted his crystalline breathing apparatus as he delivered what he believed would be humanity's death sentence. The holographic display flickered with the signatures of 47 star systems, all united in their decision to isolate the troublesome species from Sol 3. "The sanctions are unanimous," Zeth Prime announced to the assembled Earth delegation in the sterile chambers of Station Omega-7. "No trade routes, no technology transfers, no diplomatic contact. Humanity has proven too aggressive, too unpredictable for galactic society." Earth's representative, Ambassador Sarah Chen, sat quietly at the polished table, her weathered hands folded. The other species expected tears, pleas, perhaps threats. Instead, she simply nodded. "We understand," Chen said calmly. "How long do you estimate before we collapse?" Zeth Prime's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. "Our projections indicate complete societal breakdown within 2 standard cycles. Your species lacks the resources for sustainable interstellar civilization without our support networks." The Vorthak representative, a serpentine creature whose scales shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, added with barely concealed glee, "Perhaps this will teach your species humility. You expanded too fast, claimed too much territory, and refused to acknowledge your betters." Chen stood, straightening her simple blue uniform. "Then I suppose we'll have to make do with what we have." As the Earth delegation departed, the assembled aliens exchanged pleased hisses, clicks, and harmonics. Humanity would learn its place in the cosmic order. They were catastrophically wrong. 18 months later, Zeth Prime received the first disturbing report. His aide, a nervous Clicktar drone, trembled as it delivered the intelligence briefing. "Ambassador, we're detecting massive industrial activity in the Sol system, far beyond what our models predicted." "Impossible," Zeth Prime's translator crackled. "They should be experiencing mass starvation by now. Their agricultural worlds relied entirely on our fertilizer shipments." The holographic display materialized before them, showing the Sol system in unprecedented detail. What they saw defied every economic model, every prediction, every assumption about human limitations. Massive orbital platforms surrounded not just Earth, but every terrestrial body in the system. Mars blazed with the light of 1,000 cities. The asteroid belt swarmed with mining operations so vast they resembled metallic galaxies. But most shocking of all was Jupiter. What is that?" Zeth Prime whispered, his respiratory slits fluttering in disbelief. Jupiter's upper atmosphere was alive with activity. Enormous floating cities drifted through the gas giant's clouds, connected by streams of harvesting vessels that sucked up atmospheric gases like cosmic whales feeding on plankton. The scale was beyond anything the consortium had ever conceived. "Sir," the aide stammered, "our xenobiologists always assumed Jupiter was just a gas giant. We never scanned it properly. We thought it was uninhabitable." Zeth Prime's 4 eyes widened in horror as the implication struck him. "Get me a full spectral analysis now." The data that followed shattered 40 years of consortium intelligence. Jupiter wasn't just a source of hydrogen and helium. It was a virtually inexhaustible reservoir of everything. Rare isotopes that the consortium fought wars over existed in Jupiter's atmosphere in quantities that could supply the entire galaxy for millennia. Elements that commanded premium prices were being harvested by the ton. But the humans hadn't just hidden Jupiter's resources. They had hidden their own capabilities. The orbital platforms weren't crude industrial facilities. They were marvels of engineering that surpassed consortium technology. The humans had been deliberately showing their primitive side during diplomatic contact, concealing advances in fusion power, materials science, and atmospheric processing that made the aliens' own technology look archaic. "Sir," another aide interrupted, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth." Ambassador Chen's face appeared on the display, but she looked different now. Gone was the humble diplomat. In her place stood someone who radiated quiet confidence, standing before a backdrop of gleaming spires that stretched into Earth's sky. "Greetings, Consortium," Chen began, her voice carrying a tone that made Zeth Prime's scales itch. "I wanted to personally thank you for the sanctions. They've been educational." Behind her, through massive transparent walls, Jupiter loomed like a striped jewel, surrounded by the bustling activity of human civilization. "You see, we never needed your trade routes," Chen continued. "We have everything we need right here in our system. Your sanctions simply gave us the motivation to stop pretending we were dependent on you. The transmission shifted to show impossible vistas. Cities floating serenely in Jupiter's clouds, mining operations that dwarfed planets, shipyards constructing vessels that made consortium dreadnoughts look like toys. We've been wondering, Chen said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, if perhaps you might be interested in establishing trade relations with us. We have rare isotopes, refined gases, and manufactured goods available for export. Standard terms, of course. Zeth Prime felt his respiratory system seize. The humans weren't just surviving the sanctions, they had used them as an excuse to reveal they were already beyond the consortium's level of development. Our economists project, Chen added almost casually, that most consortium worlds will experience resource shortages within 5 cycles without access to our exports, particularly the isotopes your fusion reactors require. The transmission ended, leaving the assembled consortium representatives in stunned silence. The Vorthak delegate was the first to speak, his scales now a sickly gray. We just sanctioned a civilization that could economically strangle half the galaxy. Zeth Prime slumped in his environmental suit, finally understanding the scope of their miscalculation. Humanity hadn't been aggressive or unpredictable. They had been cautious, revealing only what they needed to while quietly building an empire in their own backyard. The sanctions hadn't taught humanity humility. They had simply removed the last reason for humans to pretend they needed anyone else. As emergency sessions convened across the consortium, one truth became crystal clear. They hadn't been punishing humanity for overreach. They had been isolating the galaxy's next superpower, and now Jupiter, patient and vast, hung in space like humanity's ace card finally played. A reminder that sometimes the most dangerous civilizations are the ones smart enough to let everyone else underestimate them.